I mean, have the drums ever sounded?
How about that percussion section? That's Aaron Fig on the tambourine.
Anton and Aaron Fig.
Age 12.
Hi, I'm Anton Fig, and this is...
I'm Aaron Fig.
And we're on Musicians on the Record, and let's go.
Yeah, let's do it.
Hi, welcome to Musicians on the Record. This is David Ward, and this is the show where we get the musician's story, and I'm really super excited. I just saw these guys live a few days ago. It's a family show today with amazing drummers Anton Fig and Aaron Fig. Welcome, guys.
Hey,
Hi, good to be here.
Yeah, thanks for making the time and being here. Really appreciate it. Anton, obviously a lot of folks may know who you are with being on Letterman for so many years, the house drummer, and now with playing with Joe Bonamassa for a number of years. And my wife and I were lucky enough to be at the show on March 22nd in Westbury, New York at the NYCB Theater. And lo and behold, you and Joe put your son Aaron on the drums for a song. That was fantastic. You did a great job, Aaron. What was the name of the song? Was it Slow Gin or?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was Slow Gin. Okay. Tell me about how all that came about for you guys. When was the idea to do all of that? And I don't think this was the first time either, right?
So Joe, it's Joe's show, so it's up to him. So it was all him. But a while ago, we were at rehearsal, and Slow Gin is like a big ballad, but right towards the end, the song kind of pauses, and there's a big cymbal roll, and then there's a big drum fill, and it goes into the final section. So we were at rehearsal, and we were rehearsing the song, and as we did this big cymbal roll and went into the next section, Aaron started to inch his way up onto the drums and kind of worked his way, kind of pushed the old guy off. And so I left, and I got a tambourine, and I went out front and Joe was playing with his eyes closed, and so when the song ended, he opened his eyes and he saw me standing in front of him. So he turned around and he went, and he saw Aaron had been playing drums all the time. And so he sort of commented that we had like a similar DNA, and that he liked the relationship of the feel between the kick and the snare with Aaron. He said he felt it was the same as mine. And so we were then on tour in Budapest, and he asked him to sit in, but we switched at the cymbal roll. I played like half the song, and then there was a cymbal roll, and then there's this long solo, and so we switched and we did it, and it was like for 5,000 people. It was really exciting. And then tell them about the next time that we did.
Yeah, so then we did that, and then about maybe the next month, he says, "Okay, now you're going to do it at Red Rocks."
That's in Red Rocks in Colorado, which is Denver. That's for 9,500 people.
Thank you very much. We have a special guest that's going to sit in with us on this next song later on in the tune. It's Anton Fig's son, Aaron. So if you see a switch in the drum chair, that's Anton's son, who is a wonderful drummer, and he's going to come and play Red Rocks for the first time. So no pressure.
So we switched at the cymbal roll again, and that went great. And then this time he says, "Okay, you're going to do the whole song." So,
And everybody said, "But don't worry, the stage will be turning around at the same time," because So he's seems to have just picked pivotal gigs for him to do it on. And Joe was mentored by B.B. King, and I think he looks at it as really kind of doing something for and he gets a kick out of it. He gets the audience gets a nice reaction, and he gets a kick out of it. So it's a really good thing, and we're both very thankful that he does it.
Absolutely. What a gift, right? Yeah, because Joe started really early, and somebody put him on stage at a young age as well. Right? I don't know if it was BB at first, but somebody did.
He's very aware of that, and it's cool that he gives back in the same way.
Right. So, it sounds a little similar to the Nebworth moment with John Bonham and Jason Bonham, where the guys look back and it's Jason on the drums and John is in the crowd, during sound check in the seats watching the thing. That sounds like a very similar story. That's really great. Yeah. What was that like for you, Aaron, to sit in, sort of excitement, nerves, any and all of that?
I mean, it's definitely a bit nerve-wracking, but, when you're playing with musicians that are at that caliber, it makes it a lot easier for you, I'm used to playing with a lot of good friends of mine and good musicians, but this was by far, like, the easiest for me because it's like they know what they're doing, and, like, it made it easier for me to do. So that just calmed it down, and I just played.
Yeah, and you played fantastic. Great time, great feel of it. I couldn't really tell the difference. And Anton, you looked like a proud papa, just joyful with the tambourine, just watching him. It was really a great moment. Very sweet. Yeah.
It's fun. It's sort of surreal, actually.
Yeah,
I bet.
It's great. It's great. And by this last time at Westbury, I sort of felt like I was a little more used to it. You know what I mean? I could relax a bit more.
Right.
Yeah.
And so are you guys traveling then and touring together? You're going on the road with the band, Aaron?
Yeah, I was on the road with them for a bit, just traveling along and seeing different places. And I mean, it's great.
But now he's got to go back to school.
Yeah, I got school.
Oh,
it was
man.
like spring break, and we were playing around, and so he, Joe and the band said he could come on the bus and just have little road life for a bunch of gigs.
I want to know what that teacher's note was. Like, can't come to school because going on tour with Joe Bonamassa. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Well, actually, there was a weirder one when he was like really little at school, and they had to do a picture or something, and he drew a picture of like Letterman and Late Night, and the teachers were going, "What the hell are you doing up that late?" But he was backstage at many of the shows. So.
Oh, I bet.
Yeah.
Oh, that sounds amazing. So let's talk a little bit about both of your stories. I want to know, just curious of like, when did you both start playing? I'm sure you're both influenced by each other, but who are some of your other drumming or music influences?
No, you go first.
Okay. Well, I just started very young. Since I could basically remember. I think it was just always, hitting things that I could get a hold of. And then when I don't know, I was 2, there was like a small kit he found from my brother, and I got that and started playing on a real kit, and still sounded not great because I was 2, but I got the kit experience, and then since then I've just been playing. I think really what I did was just put on records and playing along to them. And, it probably started with a lot of Beatles, and then it became like Led Zeppelin. And then as he started working with Joe Bonamassa, it started with that stuff. So it was kind of those 3 were the main like shapers of how I played the drums.
That's awesome. How about for you, Anton?
Well, I just want to add one difference is he also plays guitar.
Oh, wow.
Which, so that's good. And so, you can look up to Joe for that as well. But, his story is very similar to mine in that I just played it for as long as I can remember. And I got a drum kit, a toy kit when I was 5. And my grandfather got me a bass drum and snare, and every year he added a tom-tom. And I was always just playing. And I was listening to like I guess Elvis and like Lloyd Price and James Brown and those things. But then when the English invasion happened, so it was the Beatles as well, and it was Zeppelin and Cream and Hendrix and all that stuff as well. And then when I came over to America, I got into the jazz guys, Tony Williams and Jack Deacon and Alvin Jones, and continued. But it's funny that there's a lot of parallels in the way that we kind of started. I mean, the one thing is that I played him a lot of music at an early age. And my dad actually played me a lot of music, a lot of jazz and classical stuff. And, he was listening to Miles Davis and Weather, Zawinul and all that from when he was very young. And he thought that Band on the Run was called Stand on the Rug, which is like
Sure.
For a 5-year-old,
course,
that makes
right?
complete sense.
Isn't it? Right.
And I think that why parents sometimes make an error where they play children's stuff, and whereas their minds can take in really complex stuff, and you can play them the most advanced because they have no preconceptions or rules. And so I always just try to play him the best music that I could play. Both my kids, I have an older kid as well, but he ended up doing like producing and rap beats and that. But
cool.
Still, he also went through the Miles Davis experience and all that stuff.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah. So how old were you when you started playing, Aaron?
It was 2. I got a kit when I was 2. Yeah. And that was great. I mean, he let me just discover it all myself. There was never like you have to practice, but I did the whole. I just experienced it myself. I got to listen to whatever I wanted, so that was great because I could really discover the music on my own and figure out what I liked and what I liked to play and how I liked to play stuff.
Now, I'm a big believer that it has to come from the child. It has to come from the person. And so while I'm willing to tell him whatever he wants to know, I told him like some basics, like relax, bounce, listen to the overall music, and most importantly, play in time. Beyond that, I don't really know what else to say. You know what I mean? It's like, okay, you want to learn technique, I'm probably not the right guy to teach you that anyway. So, you know what I mean? You can get that from people, but that's secondary. So it was like the most important things that you're really going to play with. And to me, that's kind of about it for drumming. You know what I mean? I wouldn't even know what more to say to anybody. Really.
Interesting. Well, you've got some incredible technique, so don't sell yourself short. So is that accurate for you, Aaron? I mean, what are some of the biggest things that you learned from your dad as far as not only listening to the music, but playing drums?
I think one of the best things you can do is just play what's right for the song, and just a good groove doesn't always mean the same thing for another thing, because some people think like, oh, that's a groove, but it may not work for something else. And if something that you wouldn't think is a groove works for something else, it is a groove because it works right for that song. Yeah. So it's really just like play what's right for the song, and don't get ahead of yourself. Put the song first, and you can add all the stuff you want after if it fits, and just stay relaxed and
It's a lot of wisdom for 16 right there, especially when we're trying to like chops and fills and all that stuff. And it's really about serving the music, serving the song. Right. So, yeah, that's really awesome. And are you also, so you're getting some drum lessons from your dad. Do you also get some guitar lessons from Joe Bonamassa?
No, I ask him a few things sometimes. Yeah. Part of the time I'm too scared to ask.
Okay. But he did say one thing. He said, play, what did he say? He said, play something in a different key every day.
He says different keys every day.
See that? And he did let him take his Flying V like one of the real ones, and put him to rig and let him play a big E chord on stage just to get the full throat of the thing.
That's a rock and roll fantasy right there, right? That's pretty cool.
And he got to play the chord, but somehow when Joe picks up the guitar, he's got the sound is in his fingers. You know what I mean? You can own all that stuff, but it's not the same.
Yeah, I got a guitar. I don't sound anything like Joe, so that's very true. Very true. Anton, let me ask you, the other side of the coin, how has your son influenced your playing? What have you learned from Aaron about music and or drumming?
Well, it's like when he's at a gig, I kind of feel like some kind of responsibility to it kind of focuses me in and to play right. I don't want to play bad habits. I don't want to be indulgent, and I want to, play to the point. And like I noticed that when because I knew he was going to play Slow Gin, but it was at the end of the week, so he was watching it every week. And so it made me play the song differently. I kind of like really try to nail it every time and all that, so that I could really show this is kind of the way I like to do it.
Sure.
But I mean, not that he had to play it that way, but there were certain things. There were certain things in the song, certain bass drum actions that it sounds better if you get it with the bass. Not to say it has to be with the bass all the time, but that there's a time to fill and go off, and there's a time to play a part, So it made me kind of focus a little bit more, because I know that he's got really big ears, and I know that he can hear. There was one night actually where, for me, I was like, I made a couple of mistakes, and I came off stage and I said, "Did you hear them?" He said, "I heard them all."
So that's a great point, actually, both for you as a seasoned professional and for you, Aaron, of just sort of getting going. What's your advice to each other or to others of when you make a mistake on stage, what do you do? What's your mindset?
Keep going.
Yeah, I'd say that too. It's like the moment's gone. And, sometimes you tend to beat yourself up for it, but there's a lot more moments going on. And the thing is that the people who are listening have probably let that go. And I've heard like other drummers, fantastic drummers, and they'll do stuff, they'll make a mistake, or I'll feel like the time moves a little bit, and it doesn't bother me in the slightest. And yet, when I hear that in myself, then I'm like really kind of like, well, how come I did that?
Yeah. And most people don't actually even notice, right? Unless they're a musician and they're watching or studying, they don't even know.
The other guys in the band are concentrating on themselves as well. It's funny, people will come off stage and they'll say a gig was good or bad, depending on their subjective view of how they did themselves. And it's very hard, to be subjective and objective at the same time. Yeah. It's very difficult, but ultimately it's the big picture that counts.
Yes. Yeah. And now this band, Anton, that you're playing in with Joe Bonamassa, let's give the other guys and men and women some love too, because you got Michael Rhodes on bass, Reese Winans on keyboards. Who else is in the band? And let's talk them up too.
Juanita and Jade are two singers from Australia, and they're fantastic. They are fantastic. They're like really great. They're self-starters. They come up with their moves. They come up with their harmonies. They're very quick. They know a lot about music. They listen to a lot of stuff. So it's great. And then the horn players, Lee Thornburg, who played with Tower of Power, and Paulie Serra, who plays with Larry Carlton. So they all everyone's really good. And, I'm lucky. I went from playing with Will for 29 years to playing with Michael Rhodes. So that's pretty great. And Reese is fantastic. It's only one Reese, so.
No question.
It's a really good band. It's a great band. Yeah.
It's an amazing band. Aaron, for you, I mean, this must be just like gold. You're in life school with music, learning from all of these guys. What are you learning from some of the other band as well, especially like how to play with the bassist and everything?
Yeah. I mean, it's great to just watch, because it's just a prime example of a band that's on track and just keeps on going along. And I think the drums and the bass really need to be together. And that's not saying they need to play everything the same. They just you need to be picking each other's brains, because it can be, if something goes wrong on one side, you can go, okay, now I know what to do. And it's also just, I don't really know how to explain it, except that you just got to be together as a band.
Well, I noticed that Michael Rhodes really locked in on him.
Yeah.
He was playing and he was just looking at him. And
Eye contact.
Really we're in this together,
That's great. Yeah, yeah. And that's a form of communication in and of itself, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then how do songs, you guys rearrange them together in rehearsal? If somebody says, or Joe says, I want to try a little something different here and there, how does that happen?
Yeah, well, the songs are recorded, and we learn them and record them sort of in the same span, and then and that's usually right in the studio. We learn them in the studio and record them, and then live we work them up, and then he might make an arrangement changes. We'll usually just do it at sound check, or we might have a rehearsal, but at the beginning of the tour. And you may want to extend a solo, make a different ending or whatever. And he'll just make changes. And then we'll kind of practice it a few times in the various sound checks. And then we'll try it on stage, But there's no it's like, sort of think of it, although I've never boxed, what it must be like to spar and to go in the ring for real. And it's the same as like being in the rehearsal room or being at sound check. And then when you actually play, there's another level that you got to play on, and it's just a completely different thing.
Yeah. That's amazing. Let's talk a little bit about that for both of you. What's the best thing about being on the road? What's the toughest thing about being on tour on the road?
Best things you get to play. That's the easy part, and then the hard part is all the time you have to kill and the bus rides. Well, for me, it's like being away from my family, but it's great playing constantly. We play 5 shows a week and like 2.25-hour shows, so we get to play. And I did 29 years of Letterman, where I did 5 shows a week for a lot of that time. So I'm used to kind of playing every day. And so it's really nice. The difference is that on Letterman, we play different music every day and different styles, lots of different styles. So that was, and also you would play a song and suddenly you'd have to stop because you come back from commercial. This one is a set, and it's a long set, and the set has peaks and valleys, and each song does, and the whole set does. So it's a completely different art that you're playing on. And because you're playing a similar music every night, except he'll change a few songs here and there, but mostly you're playing similar stuff. So you really can kind of sandpaper and make the edges and the corners really smooth, so the whole band kind of moves around together. So it's a whole other way of it's a different way of playing.
Sure. Yeah, I love it. I'd love to ask you both some Letterman questions, but I'm curious too, Anton, for you, after that ended, how did this gig with Joe Bonamassa even come about for you?
Well, I'd been doing his record since 2007, and the show ended in 2015. So I'd done, I don't know what, 5 or 6 records with him already. And I'd flown in and done some special projects with them. We did the Royal Albert Hall video stuff and some other things, the Muddy Wolf stuff. So when they knew the show was ending, they asked me if I wanted to join the band, and the show ended. So I think I just had a couple months off, and then I was off with Joe.
Yeah, you're back on the road, so that's amazing. Now, Aaron, I'm curious. Your dad has obviously playing with Joe Bonamassa on Letterman. Some of my favorite too, Anton, you played with Ace Frehley, maybe a lot of people don't know it, but you played on Kiss record, Dynasty, and some others. Aaron, what's some of your favorite work by your dad?
What?
Oh, okay.
No pressure.
I mean, he came home with Joe Bonamassa at the Royal Albert Hall when I was 8, and I just thought it was the coolest thing ever. I would watch that for hours. I mean, that's just awesome. I think the Joe stuff is really cool just because from a young age. That was just great.
A lot of that stuff that I did was before he was born.
Yeah. And, I mean, there are great stuff on Letterman. There's a, video of B.B. King and, Solomon Burke. And, it's fun going into a store and hearing like girls just want to have fun and like turning my friends and be like, oh, that's my dad. That's always fun.
I didn't even know that. That's you as well, Anton? Holy cow. Amazing. Yeah. First of all, I miss you and the band on Letterman, guys. I know obviously Dave retired, and there's some great shows and musicians on late night, but it's not the same as you and the band. Both of you tell me some of your favorite Letterman memories that come to mind.
I'll tell you, my favorite is one of my favorites. Aside from playing with Miles Davis and James Brown, but there was towards the end of the show, he was out in the airlock, which is like the area where the guests come through to go on stage, and Letterman saw him there and said, "What are you doing here?" and took him and picked him up and put him on the drum riser with me. And so they brought him a chair, and I said, "Go upstairs to the dressing room, get him a beret." And they gave him a beret, and he sat on a high chair next to me and played percussion for the whole Letterman show.
Wow!
And Letterman said stuff like, the rhythm sections never sounded better. But then he also said stuff like, somehow it reminds me of a scene from Whiplash. So
it looks like a scene from the movie Whiplash.
That's right. Or nothing if not contemporary.
Yeah.
But that was great, like having him on Letterman with me playing.
That's amazing.
Fantastic. And he's got good time, so percussion is great.
That's incredible.
And I had always wanted to watch a show live, and I knew that it was ending, and I knew I wasn't old enough to, be in the audience, so I got to watch a show before it ended. It's just
That's
even
incredible.
better than playing up there.
That's a moment right there for you guys for the rest of your lives, right? That's incredible. Yeah, my wife and I had the pleasure of seeing. This was some years ago, Anton. We got seats to the Letterman show. You guys rocked. There was no musical guest that night, though. It was Anna Wintour and Mark Teixeira from the Yankees, so we didn't get to see a performance. But it was a good show. Yeah, it's a lot of fun.
That's great. Well, that was fantastic. We used to really rock. We get to rock out, between commercial breaks. We played all the time, and we got to play just incredible people over the course of the time. It was amazing. Yeah.
Legendary people. And was Dave a drummer as well? Because he would always say, "Are those your drums?" Did he ever get on your kit?
Yes, this is before he had the heart procedure. He would play on my kit every time after rehearsal. After he had that, he stopped coming down to rehearsal. He would just get tapes upstairs. But he would always play on my kit. And on my when I did a drum video, he did a drumming thing. Like a little couple minutes of comedy for me.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
And how was his time? How did he do on the drums?
His comedic time was fantastic.
So he would literally be one you say, don't quit your day job, but he's got a great day job, right? So
he's better off. Yeah.
He's better off. Yeah. Right.
He did know about music. He knew what he loved. He really loved drummers.
Yeah. And
he loved like that whole drumming week that we did, the drum solo. That came from him. Yeah. It didn't come from me. And he had a comedian friend named Jeff Ullman, and they used to watch Buddy Rich tapes on YouTube. And so he got the idea of having the drum, and he really got a kick out of drums. And when the bands came on, I think he bought a couple of kits from the guys that he really liked. When Matt Cameron was on the show with Soundgarden, his whole kit was a Yamaha kit that looked like my snare drum, my signature snare drum. It was that black with the wooden thing. And he totally flipped out on the show, and he said, "Anton, you got to get it. You got to get it." Like I called up Yamaha. Like the next week, I had one of those kids.
That's amazing. That's
So
fantastic.
so I really felt respected by him and really appreciated by him and very encouraged by him. So it was fantastic, and that's why he played on the video and that. And so he just his raw love for the music and that really came through.
Yeah, and I really appreciated that about him as well, in addition to his humor. And I know he was a big Johnny Carson fan, who was also a fantastic drummer too. So, yeah.
I don't have to play. I never heard him play drums, but I know that he was into it.
Yeah. It's really great. So let's talk about some of your solo projects. Aaron, you are in a band called Holiday.
Yes.
Yeah, tell us about that.
All right. So we released our record last October, and I don't know, it's a cross between it's a modern take on sort of rock psychedelia kind of. We're just playing shows in New York. It's interesting. It's a different sound, I think.
They have their own sound. It's a really nice record. It's really, they got their own. It's all original, and it really sounds great. I think it's different and it's really nice.
Tell us who else is in the band with you and how you guys connected.
The guy who got me into the band was the young filmmaker Jack Fessenden, who has a film out right now called Stray Bullets. And he knew two other kids who he went to school with, and he introduced me to them because he was going to the school that I went to now, and he was helping me decide whether I wanted to go to it. So we jammed, we played, and he says, "Oh, you got to join my band." So I joined his band, and we started rehearsing, and then last spring we recorded the record, and yeah.
And where'd you record it?
We recorded it at his barn in upstate New York.
Okay.
So we could take our time with it and do all the weird editing stuff. Yeah.
What was that process like of recording in the studio? And obviously I see videos of you, Anton, playing in the studio. What you might have learned from your dad around all of that?
Play to a click, which I did not do.
Which you did not do.
Which I will do for our next record.
I grew up not playing with a click. You know, I grew up when you had to get the basic track, and it was just the drums and bass, rhythm, guitar. And basically what they used to do is they would time it with a stopwatch. They'd time the chorus, 2 bars of the chorus, and then in the fade, they'd time 2 bars to see if the song sped up or not. And that's when I was recording in the late 70s and into the 80s. And then the drum machines came out. And then everyone started recording with a click. And then, quite honestly, it sort of was easier because you could cut takes together. Sure. And now with Pro Tools, it's ridiculously easy. But I'm glad that I grew up not just playing without any training wheels. Yeah. But I'm glad that they did it like that as well, like a real band. They just kind of played. It's cool.
And the real thing that I kind of learned was I was basically playing the drums to scratch guitar and scratch vocals just so I didn't have to memorize the song completely. But the real thing that I sort of took with me was I have no clue what post-production they're going to put on. I don't know what guitar parts they're going to come up with, so I can't go crazy because I need to leave room for what's to come. So I just played along to the guitar and took, I don't know, anywhere from 5 takes to one song took like 5 hours or something. But it was just great. We record the drums and then they record some rhythm guitar and then I think we'd sort of sit with it a bit, and then there was a place in New York where we'd go and do all the overdubs and guitar solos. So
yeah, it was like a band, because nowadays you do like 2 takes, 3 takes of Pro Tools. They go, come in, that was terrible, and then they edit it together.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So it's like recording as a band, going old school on it, right? Yeah. What's your kit, your sort of favorite go-to kit, Aaron, that you love?
I mean, I get the Yamaha stuff.
There you go, right?
You know, the Yamaha, and it's easy. It's kind of like he used to set up my kits when I was little, so I feel like our setup's pretty close just because I grew up comfortably on it. So it's pretty easy. I can just sort of sit down on one of his things and then, you know, set up some drums of mine. And yeah, I recorded the whole album on Yamahas.
That's great.
Yeah.
And what's the name of the album, and where can people find it?
Okay, it's called Holiday, and it's by Holiday, and it's on iTunes, but it's a bit hard to find, and it's on Spotify, so it's also on SoundCloud. I recommend you follow us on Instagram at holiday.band, and you go there and you'll get the link for SoundCloud, and I'm sure you can find us for Spotify and all that. And yeah, so it's
and you got some gigs supporting the album coming up?
Planning some spring gigs right now in New York, and the 2 main guys are Dalton Salisbury and Jack Fessenden, and then our bassist Addy and I play drums. So it's great. I mean, it's great because you just get to experience it as a band experience in New York, and also it's sort of we're playing what we want, you know, and we just can play what we want. So, and then we do the show. So it's just our own game, which is great.
Yeah, and it's very cool that you already have a little bit of experience playing live. So I think that'll serve you very well, right? So. And you have a record as well, Anton, Figments. Let's talk about that.
It's a little in the past. I made it in the about 10, 12 years ago, but I still love it when it came out. Actually, it came out in 2003 or something, so it's 15 years. But it's the internet and all that was just getting going for selling all that stuff, and it was also one of those records with lots of guests on it, which there weren't as many of those records either. But anyway, I've got great people like Brian Wilson is on it, and Ivan Neville, and Richie Havens, and Ace Frehley, and there's all. So the songs are, there's a lot of different kinds of songs. I produced it all and played drums on it all, and it goes from, there's a couple of heavier songs, but there's also kind of worldish kind of songs. You know, some Africans, because I'm originally from South Africa, so it's got some South African influences, and it's a really, I really like it. I still think it sounds great. I'm very proud of it, and I would just love people to hear it.
Absolutely. And where can folks find that? That's on iTunes as well.
That's on iTunes, and it's on Spotify. And you can buy it also from my website.
AntonFig.com. We'll put up
if you still have a CD player. Yeah. Or you can buy it and convert it to it.
Right. Yeah. Is it on 8-track? I don't know if any of that's coming back or not. Right? Maybe on vinyl, but you know, Anton, you mentioned one of my other favorite musicians, Ace Frehley. When's the last time you talked to Ace, or any plans to play with him in the future?
Yeah, no, not at the moment. I went to a KISS convention last year. It was the first one I'd done in about 25 years. And he was there, as was Todd Howarth and John Regan. So that was the Frehley's Comet. And so we played a couple of songs impromptu that we hadn't played for 30 years. And didn't know them too well. And you know what I mean? It was just whatever it was. It was just sort of for the fun of just standing up there and playing. But it wasn't tight or anything. But so that was the last time I saw him. Was a year ago. I mean, I still feel in touch with him, and sometimes by email and all that stuff. But at the moment, we don't. I'm like on the road. Joe tours a lot. And when he's off the road, I'm home with the family because I'm away so much. So there's nothing at the moment. But, we're still in touch, and, we had a great time a year ago when we saw each other.
Yeah, I think I saw that video because it was on YouTube or something. It was great. So.
It's all right, but it was fun,
Yeah, but that's fine for Kiss fans, right? It's all good, and Ace Frehley fans. So
little bits of history, I guess,
Yeah, exactly. That's right. So you guys are on a little bit of a break now. Joe's tour continues in Europe soon, in London?
Yeah, in about 3 weeks, I go off to, I forget where the first gig is, but then we do 3 nights in the Royal Albert Hall, which will be great. Unfortunately, he has school, so he won't be on that one. And but he will be joining me. Joe is doing a cruise in Spain, and so he's going to come on the cruise. So that'll be fun. But we're on and off. And then we are going to be recording in London at Abbey Road, I believe, in June. So that's really, I've never set foot in that place.
Yeah, that's awesome. You've been there before, or will this be the first time you're there?
First time.
First time, wow.
First time. So that's really exciting.
Yeah, it's very exciting. And the Royal Albert Hall, for both of you, you've both played there before as well, or no?
I have not.
But you've been there?
There.
Yeah.
I've been there and I've experienced it.
I played, before I joined the band, they got me in for that concert at the Joe concert, and I played, I just did like 1 or 2 gigs, and then we did the Royal Albert Hall with the 2 drummers, and Clapton played with us 1 song. And then the next time we went back was for the Tour de Force, where I did the trio stuff with Joe, and he had his road band, and I sat in on a couple songs at the Royal Albert Hall. But then I've been back twice with him, just playing with him. So this will be, I don't know, my 5th or 6th time there.
Yeah. What's it like? What's it like to play there, and or any of both of you sort of favorite or dream halls or venues to play?
Yeah, well, the first time I played there, I didn't like it. The sound was weird. But then towards the last time I played there, it was nice. And I'm really looking forward to 3 nights in a row because it'll feel, you'll have the sound dialed in. It'll be really great. I mean, I really love the garden. Madison Square Garden is fantastic. Yeah. It's just and it doesn't always feel like a big place. Sometimes it feels like a really small place. When we did the concert for New York City there, it felt small, but maybe because the event was so charged. I don't know what it was. I did the Dylan 30th anniversary there, which was a great concert as well. Got to back up everybody. So that's a fantastic role.
That's amazing. How about for you, Aaron? Where would you love to play most?
Yeah, the garden's pretty cool.
Yeah, right.
It's like you got an
I gotta play Red Rocks.
Yeah, I gotta play Red Rocks.
Yeah. I mean, amazing band.
I mean, from what I've noticed, and I've played a few small shows with my band, and I've gotten to play with Joe, is that your nerves don't change based on the venue. It's still just as scary playing for like 50 people, and then playing for 10,000 people. And that, I mean, they're different because you play differently, but hey, I'm fine with playing anyway. It's gonna make a gig and I'll play.
Right, you're open for gigs.
Yes.
One thing that is different from playing in a club to a huge place is that in a club you can play more little things. Where in a big place you want it to translate to the back row. And that, generally means, and of course it depends on the kind of music you play, but it generally means like big broad strokes so that it translates all the way back. And I think that's why, some of these rock bands, it's a more simple kind of thing because so that it'll sound good in the whole place.
Absolutely. Yeah, so a lot of molar strokes maybe, right? A lot more of those?
Yeah, well, you know what? I'm having trouble. I'm trying to do double strokes.
Yeah.
With Joe, and it's hard for me to get them out there. It's a lot easier just to be hitting one-on-one, you know.
Yes. Yeah, no doubt. Yeah. I watched both of you because the very cool thing about that venue was that it was in the round. And so for me as a drummer, I like to watch people's feet because I'm a huge bass drum guy, and you both did amazing. To see the side view and the back view, that you don't get to see that at any shows. It was really cool.
Yeah, I would love to watch guys do that. I mean, I'm always watching from behind.
Yeah, right. And I know Joe was joking about it as far as the spinning and the dizzy, but was that Joe, or were you feeling that?
Yeah, no, I don't particularly like it. Because the stage goes, and then sometimes when it reaches the end and starts going the other way, there's a shudder that happens. And when you look up, you can't pinpoint. You don't know. Usually, you can get someone in the audience so you know where you are. So you can't quite locate yourself. And the show, it's like when we did the cruise, and you're on the boat, and the wind blows, and the cymbals start going crazy, and you got to fight your balance and all that. It's not as much fun.
Yeah.
Because you've got stuff taking your mind away from the music.
Sure. God, I have a hard enough time keeping my balance on my stable ground, never mind a cruise. That must be really difficult.
You know what? Balance is everything.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Feeling like really secure and grounded is like, that's got to start there.
No question. Speaking of a cruise, some of my favorite music that I've seen of you guys playing with Joe is some of the music with Beth Hart.
Yeah.
And it's just fantastic, whether it was on the cruise in Amsterdam or in the studio. Any plans to work with Beth Hart again?
I don't think there's anything at the moment. We just went to Paris in January and played a private concert. This guy had a very wealthy guy in Paris, had a big concert for his friends and wanted Joe and Beth. So we went down and we had a couple of rehearsals, quickly got the set together and played the show.
That's freaking awesome.
It was fabulous. I mean, she's such a committed, 100% all the way when she sings. She's fantastic to play with. And it's very inspiring to play with musicians, really good musicians. And I remember many, many years ago, I'd been at Jones Beach, and Vinny was playing, and somehow, I don't know how, I ended up giving him a ride home back to New York. And I remember, he said, always try and play with people better than yourself. I don't know quite how he does it, but it's like, But
there is nobody better than him, right?
That is always, that was such good advice. Yeah. So good. But we got to go, the two of us, and Oz and I, we went to see Herbie Hancock rehearsed. It was Vinny and James Genius. I just played with James and Oz like a few nights before, and so James had come down. And so we got to listen to them, and Vinny was playing for like an hour and a half. They did a sound check because they just started the tour, so they were still working the stuff in. Just remarkable.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Mind-blowing stuff, right?
Totally mind-blowing.
Aaron, where do you want? I mean, you're hearing your dad talk about all of these amazing musical experiences. Where do you want your music to go? What's the dream that's brewing for you right
now? I think there are two parts. There's I want to see sort of where the band journey goes, like just see how that roller coaster ride happens. I might have a few other groups also with a few other friends. So, it's always great to see where those go. And also, I love playing the drums, so I want to see how far I can take that. I got good people to look up to and be around and get good advice. So, I don't know where the music industry is going to be by the time I get out of college, but I'm always going to be playing. So I'm kind of looking forward to seeing where it'll be then and what I can do with it, because right now I don't feel like I can really say what's realistic.
Yeah, absolutely. And what do you feel like you're working on right now, drumming wise?
What's it called? Like shifting.
Well, well, you know what? After we saw Vinny, we decided to listen to that "I'm Tweaked" song. "I'm Tweaked," which is the first song on his record, his solo record, and basically the riff's in 4/4, and he shifts it by a 16th note, forwards and backwards, and so it sounds like the record's skipping or going like something's gone really horribly wrong.
Yeah.
And so, man, he managed to kind of figure out what the hell was going on there. And I know what's going on, intellectually, but I'm still trying to, so that I can just hear it. You know what I mean? I just want to hear the band playing straight through in 4/4. So I need to spend a little time shedding that. But anyways, I guess he's working on that thing.
Yeah, and I'm also still just playing along the stuff because, you just learn new stuff every day. So.
Right. Some of the most fun stuff to do, right? So
yeah.
I can, when I'm upstairs, and sometimes I can, hear what he's playing to. I know what he's playing to. I can tell. He's playing that, and I can hear him improve. And sometimes I don't even know what he's playing to. And I say, were you playing free, or were you just playing to a record, or what the deal is? Yeah. But I've heard him improve over the years.
That's great. So you can hear it and really appreciate him for that, right?
Okay. Yeah.
That's amazing. The other side of the coin, Anton, of hearing what Aaron's goals or dreams might be, what are your hopes for him as far as where he's at in his career today?
Well, I just wanted to, do what he loves to do. Unfortunately, I think that the music business, we don't know what's going to happen with that. It's, but he needs to, just play. He's got a really good musical head. He's playing a lot of guitar. And so I just want him to kind of continue with that and see where it goes. I don't have, an end game or any, well, you should be doing this, and by this age, you should be doing this, and, just go as long as he's enjoying it, see what happens, be realistic and just keep dreaming in a way,
Yeah. And, no matter what the music business or the business side of it does, musicians and people, we're not going to stop making music, right? Yeah. So whether it's for a living or the joy of it, that's the real cool thing and gift.
Yeah. I think for me, it'd be more, I'd really love to be able to make a living off of music, because then I get to play it all the time and, earn a living out of it. But if that's not possible, I will always be able to play. So that's great too.
And do you guys practice and jam together? Show each other different things, or how do you do this? How do you do that?
Sometimes, I think occasionally, not as he doesn't ask me as much.
I get it. I remember being 16 too. It's like, I got it, Dad. No problem.
Yeah. I'd be happy to show him stuff, but occasionally we'll sit down in the.
You never come down.
Yeah,
I'm always downstairs.
He goes down, and he's a much better guitarist than me, so he can play guitar and I can play drums, and doesn't quite work the other way around. But then we can play together sometimes, trade fours and stuff like that. We don't do it a great deal, but we do it sometimes.
Well, life is busy. Life is busy. Well, this has been fantastic, you guys. Let me ask you one final question. Anton, if you could go back in time and talk to your 16-year-old self, and your son can learn from this as well, what advice would you give yourself and Aaron?
It's sort of anything I did kind of worked out okay. So it's like, I'm not really sure what I would do different. My one regret is that when I grew up in South Africa, I wanted to learn, I'd ask the guys, how do you hold the sticks and what are the rudiments and all that. And I wish that when I was at that age, I could have done the marching drumming or whatever, just really gotten the proper hand technique together and all that stuff. But I didn't practice all that much. And my dad used to say to me, you should practice. Why did you practice, And I started practicing more later in life, I think. And when I see him, it's like, I don't see him, he goes down and plays a lot. So, and he plays a lot of guitar. He's always got a guitar in his hand and he's down there playing, but it's like, why aren't you working at the rudiments? Why aren't you doing this? Why aren't you, you know what I mean? But then I go like, well, I didn't, but then that's probably also why I complain about not having any technique. But anyway. Yeah.
But I think it turned out okay, even if you didn't do all your rudiments, right?
Somehow, I don't quite know how, so I don't know what I would say, but I don't have regrets or anything like that,
It's really fantastic. I'm struck by some amazing father-son drumming combinations. John and Jason Bonham, Ringo and Zach Starkey, Ginger Baker and Kofi Baker. There's a new kid in town. It's Aaron Fig, Anton Fig. Thank you so much, guys, for being on Musicians on the Record today.
Thanks for having me. I'm glad that you think I'm a new kid.
Hey, Vinny! Very nice! Anton Fig, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, my! Take the week off! Fantastic!